Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our Dharma Sutra 101. Last week, we started to explore the sutra. And in our PPT for last week, Venerable Master says that the Diamond Sutra that Buddha taught us how to see ourselves in this light. He showed us how to awaken the entire fullness of our inner wisdom. He showed us how to understand the bliss of nirvana lies in each and every in the universe. And that does not lie somewhere else. So this Diamond Sutra is a way that shows us about our true self, our inner light. He also shows us the entire fullness of our inner wisdom. And through this Diamond Sutra, we are able to see the truth of this world and also the truth of nirvana. So in the teachings of the Diamond Sutra, there are 4 main teachings. Hope that you can still remember in last week's class or the first class. So I'm going to repeat to all of you. The first main teaching is to give without notion. The second is to liberate with no action of self. The third is to live without abiding. And fourth, to cultivate without attainment. In a way, if we summarize this 4 main teaching, basically is a teaching of non-attachment or non-abiding. Not just to ourselves, not just to our way of thinking, and not just to the cultivation or attainment. Anything that arises our attachment or abiding to certain things, then this is not the path to the perfect enlightenment or nirvana. So in this sutra, we see the conversation between the Buddha and Shibudi. And in a way is that it guides us to look into 2 worlds. One is the mundane world, and the other is the supra-mundane world. So mundane world are the things that we see around us, including we human beings. But supra-mundane world is not to take away the mundane world, but rather is beyond the mundane world. So Buddhism is quite different from other religions. Mundane world, supra-mundane world is beyond supra-mundane world. So this is not a place like heaven. Because somebody asked me, is that supra-mundane world, is it a heaven? And I said, no. It's still a mundane world, but our understanding, our awakening is beyond this mundane world. So last week, the sutra we discussed about helping the sentient beings to enter nirvana without remainder, liberate them, but no sentient beings are liberated. In a way, is that if a Bodhisattva guide the sentient beings to enter into nirvana, but the Bodhisattva, in his mind, there's no sentient beings are being liberated. No attachment to sentient beings, no attachment to nirvana. The other is that if a Bodhisattva has the notion of self, others, sentient beings, or longevity, then it is not a Bodhisattva. So in here is that if a Bodhisattva attached to the notion of self, others, sentient beings, or longevity, then this is not a Bodhisattva attitude. The other one is to give without notion of anything and merit. And that's why the merit will be immeasurable. If we have the notion of a giving thing, giving things, and there's a merit to take back, then this merit is limited. But if we don't have this notion of the entity or the mind of having this thing or merit, then this giving, this thing, and also the merit will be unable to measure. When we have the mind of I think you, then this will be restricted just in I think, and you. And then we talk about the illusory of the form. So today we are going to continue to discuss on the non-abiding. And basically in this sutra, it's all about non-abiding. And now I'm going to share the screen. Okay, in this slide, the Buddha asked Shibudi, thus, he must not cling to phenomenal or non-phenomenal. This is why I have often said to you, Vishu, that even my teaching should be understood to be like a raft. If even the Buddha must be let go of, what about what is not the Dharma? So even the Dharma has to let go. Then things that are not Dharma, we won't even want to attach to it. So should not attach or cling to the phenomenal and the non-phenomenal. Some practitioners, when they practice into certain level, they start to have the dislike this phenomenal world. They want to be in the non-phenomenal world or the supramundane world. However, the Buddha says that no, don't cling in the non-phenomenal or the phenomenal. When there's any of the mind of clinging to something, then this is not the ultimate. And Buddha teaches, our teachings are two. Before we reach the shore, we have to fully utilize these tools like a raft. And when we understood the teachings of truth and reach the other shore, then we have to put down the tools. Put down the tools and move on. So the Dharma is also like a raft. The teachings from the Buddha is called the Dharma. And this Dharma is the truth for us to find a way to liberate out from suffering or even birth and death. However, a lot of people, when they learn the Dharma, they have the confidence in the Dharma. And when they reach the shore, they continue to carry the raft with them, which do not need to. So without this raft, we are unable to reach the other shore. However, when we reach the other shore, we should not attach to this too. We don't need to carry this raft with us all the time. We have already reached to that place. Just like the Dharma, we need to let go when we understand the truth. However, there's a question here. How do we know that we completely understand the truth? How do we know that we have reached the other shore? And how do we know that this is the time that I let go of the Dharma? So this is something that we need to think about it. We need to think about it. I learned this Dharma, did I apply in our life? If I apply in our life and my life get happier and happier or peace, no matter what challenge comes to us, we will look in this challenge, accept this challenge, and then transcend our way of thinking when we face with the challenge. When we feel the peace in our mind, then continue the cultivation, but not attached to the cultivation, not attached to the Dharma. And next, the Buddha asks again, has the Tathagata really attained Anattara Samyak Sambuddhi? Has the Tathagata really spoken the Dharma? And this is in page 28 of the Diamond Sutra. Has the Buddha attained supreme enlightenment? In our understanding and the story of the Buddha, he attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, right? But in here, why the Buddha asked, has the Tathagata really attained Anattara Samyak Sambuddhi, the supreme enlightenment? And also, does the Buddha really speak or teach the Dharma? Again, in the story of the Buddha, he traveled all around, and then he helped people and teach the Dharma, guide people to face with the challenge in their life and understand the truth of our life. So in here, why the Buddha asks is that, did the Tathagata really spoken the Dharma or teach the Dharma? So why the Buddha asked Shibuddhi this question? Why? Okay. As far as I understand what the Buddha has said, that can be called Anattara Samyak Sambuddhi, and there is no standard Dharma spoken by the Tathagata. So the keywords in Shibuddhi answer is that standard Dharma. Standard. Standard means that this is this and it won't change. Did the Buddha ever teach the Dharma that is fixed? Never change. Think about it. Let's say, for example, the Buddha talked to a kid about suffering. Will the Buddha say that, oh, life is suffering, you have to face sickness and old age? Do you think that the kids will understand what the Buddha says? The Buddha will use another way to explain to the kids. So the Buddha basically is like a doctor that gives the medicine to the sick person as according to that sick person's situation or sickness. A lot of people ask me is that, what are the teachings from the Buddha? The direct teachings from the Buddha. So my questions to you is that, does Buddha have standard or unchanged teaching? If you look into the story of the Buddha, you realize that he talks a lot about the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, Three Dharma Sales, and Travelers. However, he will explain these teachings in different ways as according to the situation or capacity of that person. And this is what we call the Buddha teached according to the conditions of the current situation. And this current situation includes the type of people, places, time, culture, and so on and so forth. Just look into our environment or in this earth. There are so many things in different situations. So the Buddha will adjust his way of teaching, and that's why there's no such thing as standard Dharma. Since there's no such thing as standard Dharma, then there's no such thing as perfect enlightenment. And then he will say that, Venerable, you already talk about the Anyattara Samyak Sambuddhi, then why there's no perfect enlightenment? Because if we attach to perfect enlightenment, we will restrict the enlightenment. Perfect enlightenment is not something fixed as well. It's not something fixed. It's so broad and so unlimited. That's why it's called perfect enlightenment. And here, Shibudi continues. The Dharma of which the Tathagata speaks cannot be held on to. It cannot be spoken. It is not a phenomenal, and it is not a non-phenomenal. Cannot be hold on to, and cannot be spoken. Not a mundane and not a supramundane. But why Shibudi said so? Can we hold on to the Dharma? Can we? The Dharma is so broad. And why the Dharma is so broad? Because the teachings from the Buddha or the Dharma basically depend on the cause and condition. It's so broad. So how can we just say that this is the Dharma? We can't. Everything changes all the time due to the cause and condition. And that's why we should not attach to mundane and supramundane. And that's why it says that it's not for phenomenal and it's also not non-phenomenal. This is to break the notion of attachment on the notion of Dharma. Different people, karma or capacity determine what type of teachings in Buddhism that is suitable for them. You might like Pure Land, but in my capacity, my karma, Pure Land is not suitable for me. I might like to learn the prajna system. Prajna system. But somebody does not understand the prajna system. So they learn the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path as a guideline to their daily life. So different people have different situations, different conditions. So how can we fix the Dharma? How can we attach to this Dharma? And when we attach to certain Dharma, basically it restricted us from enlightenment. The reason is that when we attach to Dharma, even when we reach the shore, we will not like to let go of the Dharma. And this becomes a chain that ties us up. And a lot of practitioners basically have this problem or this issue. Non-abiding to the Dharma, non-abiding to the Buddha. Because the Buddha or the Dharma exists are due to cause and condition. And this cause and conditions have variance because of the situation in different places, different people, different culture. And that's why it changes all the time. This Dharma might be suitable for India, but might not be suitable for Chinese or Westerner. But there's a few teachings from the Buddha, the Dharma, cannot be changed. What are those teachings cannot be changed? Four Noble Truths. Regardless of what tradition in Buddhism, they cannot deny the Four Noble Truths. They cannot say that, oh, we won't die, oh, we won't sick. If any of the tradition of people say that we won't get sick if we do something, that is not the Dharma. Again, three Dharma still cannot be changed. Because impermanence is the truth. Non-self is the truth. If somebody says that there's no impermanence, we can have this permanence forever, this is not the Dharma. We can have all kinds of practice, the Pure Land or meditation, but no matter what practice, they have to be guided by Four Noble Truths, three Dharma self. Next. So in here, again, I mentioned that no abiding to the Buddha, no abiding to the Dharma. Because the conditions different in different places or situation. The same thing is that the conditions change all the time. All the time. And here, we start to move into merit again. You realize that the Buddha keep repeating certain things. The reason is because the Buddha wants us to really understand about non-abiding. The Buddha asks, if someone were to fill the 3,000-fold world system with the 7 treasures, use them for giving, and attain merit for this, would the merit be great? Would the merit be great? So in here is that how big is the merit? How big? Let's see. Yeah. How big is the merit? How can we measure merit? Let's see. In what the Buddha says is that if a person have a lot, unable to calculate type of treasure, very rich, have a lot of fortune, and they want to give all this to someone, donate to someone, how big will be the merit for this person in giving all his treasure to someone? How big? Can we measure it? Can we say that, okay, I give all my treasure, what I have in my life, to a monastic, and then you want to say that I want to get back the merit? How much merit can we measure? Or how big or how small is the merit? Abiding, if we abide to giver, to give, to receiver, and to merit, basically all this, the giver, the give, the receiver, and the marriage will be limited, will be very limited. And when we didn't receive the marriage as what we expected, then we suffer. So non-abiding to giver, to give, to receiver, to marriage. When we have the awareness of non-abiding, then all these four things, giver, give, receiver, and marriage, will not be limited. Our mind will be very broad. Our mind will be very broad. If we limited it, we always have this abiding in our heart, in our mind. And how can we have peace if we abide to it? So in here is that why this marriage has been mentioned so many times. Why? Why it has been mentioned so many times? Because in Buddhism, a lot of people know that when we do something, we have a reward. And in Buddhism, we call it as a merit. And this merit is not just a physical thing. It is also a intangible things. Intangible things. And when we have this expectation of the merit, basically we won't be happy no matter whether the merit comes to us or not to us, because our expectation is always very big. When we donate $10 to a person, our expectation is that either you return $10 back to me or more. But if the person did not return the money to you, you won't be happy. If the person just returned the $10 to you, you might not be happy too. You might say that I've been giving to you for 2 years. When you think that you need to give some gift to me. And also, if I am a person that is a giver, and there's a thing and a receiver, so we will have this mind that I give this thing to you. So in a way is that you supposed to say at least thank you to me. In a way, it's an expectation. And if the person did not say thank you, how will you feel? How will you feel? So last week we talked about expectation. There's nothing wrong with expectation. But the problem is that if we too attached to the expectation, and we think that this expectation is real, it's permanent, then our eyes become narrow. Our mind, our heart become narrow because of the abiding of attachment. And definitely, if we do something and have merit, it's supposed to be unable to measure or calculate. But because we expect certain things to come back, this become restricted. This become restricted. So when we do anything, think about it. Think about it is that when I do this thing, is there any expectation that I want to receive back? If I have an expectation, will I feel happy? If somebody say thank you to you, will you be very happy? And if somebody, you give this person, or you do volunteer, or you donate something to someone, and nobody show their appreciation to you, will you be happy? So in here, Shibudi said, it will be very great if there's no abiding. The world honor one. And why is this? Because such merit is not the nature of merit. Plus the Tathagata say it is great. And in here, the Buddha says is that if someone else were to receive and uphold as few as 4 lines of the verse from this sutra, and if he were to explain them to others, his merit will be even greater than that. So in here is that the merit is great. It's because this merit is the merit is not just the nature of the merit. It's beyond the nature of the merits. The non-attachment type of merit. The no expectation type of merits, and that's why it's great. That's why it's great. And there's no notion of merits, there's no notion of giving, and there's no notion of giver or the receiver. This notion is very important because notion is a way whereby we think. We think to have something. We think about giving. We have this mind of thinking. With this mind of thinking, that's why when we attach to this notion, then the troubles comes. But when we do something, we just do it. I'm doing volunteer. I'm helping the temple. Just so simple. Whether there are merits or not, it doesn't matter. You will know it. You will know it. It's not by your expectation. You will know it that this is what I'm thinking. Just volunteer. If you plan or you want to donate certain things to the temple or to the food bank or anywhere, just do it. Just do it. Don't think about me donating something to someone. Just do it. So for those members that actually know about the Chan or Zen, they always say that just do it. So simple, just do it. And when you finish doing this thing, move on. Move on. Don't look back. Whether there's merit or not, it doesn't matter. If the merits come, good. If the merits doesn't come, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So that's the reason why when we learn the Dharma, we always have to remind ourselves that aware of our way of thinking, the notion. We practice meditation is to be able to quiet down, calm down, and what? And be aware of what we're thinking. To read our mind and also to manage our mind. So in here, the Buddha also says that if there's someone receive and uphold as few as the 4 lines of verses in this sutra, receive and then learn the 4 lines at least 4 lines of this, the verses of this sutra. And if he will be able to explain them to others, his merit will be even greater than that. And you will have this question is that, when we talk about no notion of giver, give, receiver, and merits, but in here, why the Buddha says that if a person learn this sutra and uphold even 4 lines of verses in this sutra, and he will be able to explain to them, to others, his merits will be even greater than that. What does this mean? If that person understand, receive, and uphold the teachings in this sutra, basically this person is already reached to the level of non-abiding. He will be non-abiding to the Dharma, the Anattara Sambuddhi, the form, the merits, the giving. He will not abide to them. When he teach or explain to others, he just explained. He just teach the others, and he won't have a mind of abiding or expectation. And that's why his merits will be greater than anything. This greater means that unlimited. It's unlimited. He will not have the uncomfortable feeling that he explained to people, people do not understand him. He will not have the comfortable feeling when people say that, oh, you explained greatly. He won't. He just teach, he just explained with no expectation. And that's why he won't be restricted by numbers of people that hear his explanation. He won't be restricted by who understand or who do not understand. So here, the Buddha says that, Shibude, all Buddhas and all the supremely enlightened teachings of the Buddhas are born from this sutra. Shibuddhi, that which is called the Buddha Dharma is not the Buddha Dharma. What is supreme enlightenment? Supreme enlightenment. We have been discussing this a long time. Many times or a long time ago. What is supreme enlightenment? Supreme enlightenment are not something to be spoken, not something to be held on, not something that we can speak of. It's not something that we can hold or attach to. But unfortunately, we have this habit of attachment. So all Buddha understand about the cause and condition, the impermanence and non-self, and that's why they enlighten the supreme enlightenment. Enlightenment of unspoken. We cannot use any language or any words to define so-called supreme enlightenment. Because if we use words to define it, then this is not the supreme enlightenment. However, if we don't have a word to speak out, how can people know that there's such thing, that so have a term for supreme enlightenment? supreme enlightenment, Dharma, Buddha, anything around of us are tools. And that's why they are Dharma. Because they are impermanence, non-self. So there's nothing that we can attach to. Not even the Buddha Dharma. Not even the Buddha Dharma. And this is why Buddha Dharma is not Buddha Dharma. But when we have to learn the Buddha Dharma, we still need this Buddha Dharma as a tool for us to liberate out from suffering. So we have to learn it seriously and diligently, but we should not attach to it. If we attach to it, it will not be able, or we will not be able to see the ultimate Buddha Dharma. We will not be able to see it because we restrict it. When we attach to the Buddha Dharma, first thing, we limited it. It becomes very small. It's supposed to be very broad. Why it's broad? Because it's a cause and condition type of situation. It's not something that should be limited. And also, if we limited the Buddha Dharma, we will have a situation is that even when we understand the Dharma, we won't be willing to let go of it. We won't be. It's just like we have this Buddha Dharma as the raft. We use this Buddha Dharma to cultivate and reach the other shore. But because we attach a bind to this Buddha Dharma, even when we reach to the other shore, we do not want to let go of it. So how can we have peace? How can we have peace in our life? The Buddha Dharma became a burden to us. A burden to us. So please think about what is the meaning of peace? What is the meaning of cessation and of suffering? What is the meaning of liberate out from the circle of birth and death of supreme enlightenment? This is something that when we learn the Diamond Sutra, we realize that the Buddha keep reminding us of the non-abiding on the certain things that we as a practitioner, that we abide to. So in this class, let me see, do I still have the light slide? So non-abiding to the Buddha Dharma. Yes and no. Yes and no, and no, and yes. If we attach to yes, that's not the ultimate. If we attach to no, try to deny, push away, and say that I'm not going to attach to Dharma and Buddha, I'm going to throw away the Dharma and Buddha, so that is also not right. Extreme. So should we learn the yes or should we learn the no? How should we cultivate? How do we cultivate? So think, how do we cultivate a life of peace? How do we cultivate a life in this mundane world at the same time understand and accept the supramundane. Supramundane. So, in tonight's class, we discuss on the non-abiding to Buddha's teachings, the Dharma, the merits, and the Buddha Dharma. And some of you might ask me is that, Venerable, what is the difference between the Buddha Dharma and Dharma? If you ask about what is the difference between Buddha Dharma and Dharma, and I will say that there's no difference between Buddha Dharma and Dharma. But there's also difference between Buddha Dharma and Dharma. At the same time, there's no difference between the Buddha Dharma and Dharma. The Buddha wants us to see the true nature of the Buddha teachings, the Dharma, the merits, and the Buddha Dharma, the truth. So if we say that there's a different, that's not the truth. If we say that that's not different, that's not the truth, because we already separate them out into two sides. It's not the middle path. He wants us to understand the illusory of the mundane world, guide us to cultivate the notion of non-abiding to the mundane world, at the same time non-abiding to the supra-mundane world. And I know that in this class about the Diamond Sutra, it's not easy to understand. The reason is because this sutra actually wants to guide us to think outside the box. This sutra wants us to see this mundane world, everything around us, including ourselves, to see this thing outside the box. So we can't use our normal knowledge, the knowledge that we have in our mind that learn from this life or from past life to understand this. We have to think outside the box. So tonight's class, we discuss on these few things, and next class, we will continue to explore the cultivation of non. So thank you very much, and I will see you next class. 阿弥陀佛。